you're going to be in adaptations of your work?
Well, if it's, I am always looking for new things, you know. So, and I've been very lucky. I've been able. My stories have translated to film and TV, and it's like, can't believe it. But this, I've never done something like this. So this, I got all in on this because I'm a consumer of these kind of. I'm a big audiobook guy, and then as that genre, whatever you want to call it, grew into these like dramatic adaptations of things. I got really excited about the possibility of doing this because as I say, I'm a big consumer of these type of things, and so I was all in on it. And yeah, so usually the decision-making process is if it's new to me. You know, I've been very lucky. I feel weird even talking about, but like I've had a TV show on for 10 years, and I was all in the beginning of that, and in the last few years I've tapered off my involvement because I trust the people that are making it. I know they'll do a good job, and I can find something else new to do like this.
So do you have a different approach when you're writing for audio versus somebody that's actually tangibly going to hold the book in their hands?
I do well on this project. I knew that you know it's weird. Like I don't do. I trust readers, listeners, whatever, whoever the consumer. So in my books, I don't do a lot of descriptions of the characters. I let people. I write like I read. I like to create in my head what this person looks like or how they sound. And I've done that for like 20 years. And then in the last 10 years, I've been very lucky in Hollywood where they've made movies. And so for 20 years, I didn't really say what, for example, Harry Bosch looks like. Now there's a show that says this is exactly what he looks like. And I realize that's a risky thing because reading and listening is a sacred process because it so demands your imagination be front and center, whereas a TV show or a movie doesn't. It's just right there for you. And so I love going back to something like this and writing something where you trust the reader, the listener, to fire up the imagination. So it does affect the writing. I knew when I was writing the scripts for this that I had to kind of put phrases together that would open a window of imagination and let the people see it. You get a lot of help from the sound design, and we have a fantastic sound design on this project, and that is very helpful. In fact, you know, I write the scripts, and all it is words, and then we got the actors and so forth. But then when they added in the layers of sound, it went from being, I think this works, to like really kind of getting chills at times the way little things were said. I mean, and I'm not just talking about scary stuff. I'm talking about like there's a point where I mean, I have a daughter, and the writer in this thing has a daughter, and like she gets frustrated with them, and just the way she goes, "Dad," was like so accurate to what I've had in my own experience that I just got a thrill out of just hearing that one word, the way it was delivered in this thing. So there's a lot of you get a lot. I get a lot of fulfillment from this kind of storytelling.
Speaking of the story itself, why did Paul send the shirt? Was it for writing material? Did he want the prophecy to come through? What was the intention of him sending that shirt?
I don't know if he wanted the prophecy to come true. The way it's kind of built there, or built into the story, is that he thought the coast was clear, that we had gotten past that. And he was not as aware as Brian was that, you know, we had to get to almost midnight. So, I don't think he meant harm or anything like that, but he made a big mistake. Yeah.
When you're looking at, you mentioned that when you're building new characters, you want the audience kind of fill those gaps. But when you're doing something like this with this Audible original, you have something like Jack Quaid coming in, who lots of people know what he looks like. Did that affect anything in the adaptation from the 2011 book to now?
No, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, a lot of people know who he was, but I didn't know him before this, but Titus has done stuff with him, and he knew him, and he kind of helped us bring Jack into it. And, so it is a balance. Like, do too many people know what this guy looks like, and will that affect the process? Or is the idea that you get someone like Jack Quaid overrule everything? And I think that did. I mean, he's... I think the guy's a lot like the guy in The Boys in terms of his frenetic energy and stuff, but I don't know. I just remember the day that we heard he was going to do it. I wasn't like, oh, wait a minute. too many people know him. I was more like, wow, that's great. Because I thought that would bring more people to listen. So.
Something that got stuck with me was the fire on episode 4 and Officer for Lida, because in there you place Brian a little bit off as a hero. Evolving these characters like this was something you always thought about? Did you always imagine new paths for them?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I knew I had to expand the story in a lot of ways, and to me this was like a no-risk thing. We weren't even sure. I wrote it all before we tried to cast it and go from there. And so I had a lot of freedom in writing it. It's set in Tampa, Florida, where I've lived, where my wife is from, and there's a person named Ferlita who's a friend of ours, and I was really hitting a lot of touchstones of stuff I knew, and I wanted to include, because it goes with the territory where the original short story was written because it was a charitable effort. I forget what agency this book was going to support, but they went to all these writers and said, write something you're not known for. I'm known for detective and legal stuff. So I went into horror, and I'm also known for writing about LA. So instead I wrote about this alter life I have in Florida, where I grew up and my wife is from, and we had a place in Tampa and family and things like that. So I was really hitting stuff I knew, but people didn't know I knew, if that makes sense. And so I was trying to hit a lot of the highlights of Tampa and Florida. The whole thing about Cassadaga, the spiritual community, that's a real place that I've been to several times. My first job in 1980 out of school as a newspaper reporter, I covered Cassadaga, and it's a place that just has always stuck with me, and I've always wanted to put into a story. And this was my opportunity.